Wolverine doing a fastball special right at the Hulk while Iron Man and Deadpool crack jokes? Yes, please. I'm Sasha Perl-Raver, and this is Screen Junkies News. X-Men versus the Avengers, Silver Surfer heralding the coming of Galactus to the Fantastic Four and the Avengers? Well, it could happen. In an interview with Perception Studios, who did the opening animation for Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige was asked about Hugh Jackman's desire to bring Wolverine to the Avengers, and if his ultimate goal was to bring all of the Marvel characters back under one umbrella. His answer, quote, "Of course. My goal is to replicate the experience that comic book fans have reading the books up on the screen, and we've been able to accomplish that beyond my wildest dreams over the last 10 years. Who knows what can happen in the future?" Now, there is a lot to unpack in that quote, but with me to do it are two very, very excited guests. We have Emma Fife and Matt Key. Oh boy, 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 oh boy. So Matt Key has actually been spending all morning, while suppressing his excitement, actually going through something really boring, which is where the rights reside. Yes. Matt, unpack it for us. So basically, how do we get this to happen?
I don't know how we get this to happen, but I can tell you kind of what happened to get us to where we are. So the 80s were a great comic book boom. Like, everyone was reading comic books in the 80s. That's when you get The Watchmen, you get Dark Knight, you get Frank Miller, Alan Moore. Comic books are huge. The 90s comes around and the speculative market picks up, and all the publishers see that, so they start doing giant events. They start doing giant variant covers, collectibles. You're going to want this lenticular cover. This one has a hologram. And all the collectors are buying them up, but it creates a false sense of demand. Comic book bubble starts, then it bursts in the mid-90s. Marvel goes into bankruptcy, has to sell all the rights to all their film IPs.
Right.
So there's that background. They sold the X-Men to the Donner, Lauren Schuler Donner in '93. They sold Fantastic Four, I want to say in the mid 80s, to Constantin Films, which is interesting because I don't think Fox actually owns the rights to the Fantastic Four or any of that stuff. I think it belongs to Constantin, which is interesting. But all of that being said, Marvel didn't necessarily sell across the board. Like, if they appeared in Ghost Rider, then you just bought all of the Ghost Rider stuff, New Line Cinema. What they did was, here are horror characters that all kind of revolve around each other's orbit. Do you want a horror franchise with Marvel characters? And then people like New Line and Dimension are like, yeah, we do want that. So Dimension picks up Ghost Rider. New Line has Blade. They also had Black Panther because they were kind of trying to do like a Heroes of Color sort of thing. But like, you know, like they didn't necessarily own all of the rights to all of the Blade characters or all. So it gets very muddied and very confusing very quickly.
All right. Well, even though it's muddied and confusing, it is still a possibility. So if Marvel Studios were to reclaim all of these characters, Emma, how would you like to see that done? What do you want to see them take on?
I mean, I think that the answer is to just jump right into it, be like, we've got the rights to X-Men now, and just go all out with an X-Men versus Avengers. It's in the comics, basically the story is that the X-Men sort of team figures out that in X-Men there's this whole storyline where there's this like horrible, awful future. And I'm a sucker for like terrible futures and let's travel back in time and prevent the terrible future from happening. So again, there's this awful future, and in the X-Men versus Avengers, or Avengers versus X-Men, Either way, the X-Men and Avengers are going to have a big fight because the X-Men think that the Avengers are responsible for the terrible future, so they got to take out the Avengers so that never happens.
And then along those lines, the Avengers want to stop the X-Men because they want the Phoenix Force to come. They're like, hey, this is a natural part of life, whatever.
Yeah.
So the Avengers are like, no, the Phoenix is awful. We've got to destroy it. And then that fight starts also. So it's a mess.
It is a mess, and very much a mess in the vein of sort of like a civil war where it's like everyone's kind of right. Like you understand everybody's point of view, which I think is what was so great about Civil War. Was like I went into that film being like, I'm on everybody's side. Everybody has a great point, including Baron Zemo. So like,
like Team Stark, Team Rogers. I was like, ooh. like in real life, here's the deal. In real life for Civil War, I would be totally Team Stark. Like,
Right.
if this was really happening, I'd be like, regulate the crap out of those heroes. Like, I want to know who they are, what they can do, and I want to know you have them under control. But like in the movie universe, I'm like, no, you can't do that. Yeah. That's not cool.
And you know what I said was it was Team Moviegoer. Team Moviegoer were the people who won. And we're talking about Civil War and Spider-Man.
Yes.
The Feige quote, Spider-Man shows up in Civil War, which is something that they didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah. That's such a huge win for Marvel in terms of licensing, which kind of leads us to believe that this could absolutely be possible. There could be a time when Marvel does have all of their characters back in their own hands.
Yeah, I really think like that's going to happen, especially with the Fox seems to be getting a handle on their X-Men franchise. Like X-Men Apocalypse wasn't great, but Days of Future Past was really good. First Class was a lot of fun. The X-Men films before that, except for Last Stand, they've done more or less okay. Like I've never seen something that I would say that's an X-Men film, but I've seen great films about mutants who have a hard time fitting into society with powers. Like it's been a special effects bonanza, which has been fun. But Fantastic Four is one they've never gotten right. And
yes, I loved Fantastic Four as a kid also.
Right?
I would love to see a really good Fantastic Four film. And I was rooting for this new movie
So was I.
So much, especially because of all these people that were up in arms about Michael B. Jordan being Human Torch. And I was like, no, he's great.
He's gonna kill it.
But that was a movie where like once they transformed into superheroes, it was like, no, this is less fun than when they were just people.
Well, I think that's also another example of like the studio like getting in the way. And I think Fox learned their lesson there because right after that we get Deadpool, which they had
amazing
very little and after Deadpool then you get Logan, and like both of those films have been critically the best films that Fox has released in terms of what their Marvel properties and their X-Men stuff. So I think they learned their lesson. Like if they had just let Josh Trank do his Cronenberg thing, like as weird and like off as that is from the original source material, it works and it could be really cool. And that's a film I would be interested in. But just doing I think they saw the Cronenberg cut and they were like, we're nervous. This doesn't work at all. So then they gutted it and made it even worse. Like they Suicide Squatted it and like got way too involved and had thousands of cuts. And
so I am going to play devil's advocate here and ask a question. I love Logan. I love Deadpool. These are possibilities where, yes, they've totally screwed the pooch on Fantastic Four repeatedly. But if everything does fall under a singular Marvel umbrella, do you actually lose something and do you limit the interpretations of these characters? Because Kevin Feige really is the last say. Like, we can talk about how great the Marvel movies are all day, and they are, but the truth is it is a singular voice, and that voice is Kevin Feige.
And is it going to sort of limit the creative spectrum that we see there? Like, would we get a Deadpool as it existed with Fox releasing it and Ryan Reynolds having so much control over it? Would Kevin Feige have allowed something like that to happen? I'm not sure, because you look at the Marvel films, but then you look at stuff like the Marvel Netflix series with Iron Fist being. Let's just not talk about Iron Fist. But you look at like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and they're
Luke Cage. Luke Cage was
Luke Cage, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're so different and they take much bigger risks than we do in the Marvel films. But I wonder if, because we are dealing largely with the MCU, with the film franchises specifically, if with Kevin Feige being like, this goes, this doesn't go, if he would have been like, ooh, Deadpool, too much with the rated R, too much.
That's what I wonder. And I think that there is still a possibility where things exist under the Marvel umbrella and they can germinate one another, like Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is a case where you've got like a cross-promotion situation. You've got Sony still involved. It's
well, and so going off the Spider-Man argument, like with Constantine Films, like I really think I don't think Fox actually owns the rights to Fantastic Four. I think it resides with Constantine Films. And I think like Stan Lee sold them for like $100,000 like in the early mid 80s. Yeah. That's why the Roger Corman film exists. Right, yeah.
That's not
But like the whole Roger Corman film, what was it, 94?
94,
I think?
yeah, 94, 93.
That's why that existed, because they were like, we've just got to hold on to the rights. Screw it, here's $1 million, go make a superhero movie. But I remember reading something last year where like some of the board members of Constantine Films want to liquidate all of their film IPs and then like do like more sports athletic coverage stuff.
What else does Constantine have? And if you don't know,
I don't know. I know that they're mostly film financing. I think. I don't think that they were ever distribution, which is why they got with Fox.
Yeah.
And the deal with Fox is so close that Fox may as well just own the rights.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, legally, Constantine has those rights, and if they decide to liquidate, Marvel could actually jump on that. And if they get Fantastic Four, they also get Galactus, they get the Negative Zone, they get Annihilus, they get Agatha Harkness, unless that's considered Spider-Man, but she first appeared in Fantastic Four. So then you have like Madam Web and that whole Spider-Verse thing possible. Yeah. Like Fantastic Four is a giant linchpin. Like as big as the X-Men is, like that's kind of a self-contained universe. But Fantastic Four, like they had Adam Warlock. Like how Marvel actually has the rights to Adam Warlock, I actually don't know because he was such a big part of the Fantastic Four for a long while.
And you talk about if they liquidate these assets, it's Marvel and it's Disney. And if anything is up for grabs, they're buying.
Of course they're going to buy it.
They can get it.
Now, the thing that I think is interesting, and this is specifically in regards to Kevin Feige's quote about wanting to, replicate that comic book experience. When you're looking at Marvel Comics as a whole, you have so many different creators involved. And it's the same thing with the Marvel films, but as you bring up, Sasha, like Kevin Feige has final say on everything. But if he really wants to replicate that comic book experience, you have to allow a certain amount, frankly, most creative control to the people who are actually involved in the process of creating the individual properties. So if he's serious about like the it needs to be like reading comic books, then they should be kind of tonally different, and there should be stuff that's aimed more at a family friendly audience, and you also have your Deadpools and your Logans where there's
they have to be R.
Yeah,
like it has to, those are characters that are very adult.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, we asked you guys online if this were to happen, if Marvel Studios got the rights to all of the Marvel characters, what storyline would you want to see on screen? Matt Key, we got a lot of answers.
We got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot.
He was like, at one point, he was like, I think they just put all of them.
So Sebastian J. Hughes at Sebs Hughes says, I think the Skrulls would be a cool villain for the Avengers if they got their rights back. I don't mean to actually, but actually, Sebastian, Marvel and Fox share the rights to the Skrulls, but Marvel cannot use Super Skrull. So Super Skrull is a very specific character. Okay. Same argument as the Watchers. So like in Guardians, spoilers, the Watchers show up. The reason there were 3 Watchers in Guardians is because Marvel and Fox own the rights to the race. They do not own the rights to the named Watcher, Uatu, who lives on the moon.
Oh, right.
So it's a very specific Watcher. Yeah. So it's the same with the Skrulls there. So you could actually possibly see that. Let's see. Giancarlo Petrosky says, I kind of just want to see an interaction between Iron Man and Doctor Doom. Alexander Robinson, Hulk versus Wolverine, but only if Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Your favorite, I think, might be the Spider-Man and Deadpool road trip movie from
on board
Rocky Drago 66.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like Deadpool just really needs to be the mentor to Spider-Man. I feel like that's way more in line.
And can we have Hitmonkey in that? Can we please have Hitmonkey?
Was that Rocky Drago?
Yeah, Rocky Drago. Yeah.
The best, always, like day after day, consistent awesomeness.
Perhaps one of my favorites is Legomania. William Legomania 27 says, simple, that one event that destroyed the Marvel multiverse and merged both the 616 and the Ultimate Universes with only with the MCU and XFFCU instead. So that was called Secret Wars. That's from 2015. Jonathan Hickman wrote it, and it was the merging of the 616 main universe that's existed since like 61 and the 1610 universe that they started in 2000. It's the Ultimate Universe. That is some deep nerd cut. I apologize. But they merged the 2 universes, and now they just have the 1 universe. And that would actually be a really cool way to do it. And Secret Wars saw all the heroes and villains fighting in Battle World, and it was amazing.
You know what I like calling you, Mackie? You are my deep nerd cut. I love it.
I'll take it.
And we want to know what storylines you guys would want to see. Are you into that deep nerd cut? Do you have an even better one? Let us know in the comments below. You can tweet us at SJ News. Make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, you can always click here for more Screen Junkies news. We'll see you soon.